Well, I had finished my weekend up, finishing up my neighbor's chicken coop, my next door neighbor's chicken coop, and I had cleaned up and headed in the house and sat down to see what kind of YouTube videos there were, and I watched Weekend Wanderer's video about his time time machine giveaway, and watched it real quick and was so struck by it and so immediately knew what my entry would be that I threw my shoes back on and came out to make the entry video. My my number one most influential book, I was trying to focus in on a pelican, is Tarzan of the Apes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. See, I grew up right here on this bayou, and we didn't have the neighbors back then that we have now. And I grew up pretty much by myself, no other kids down here. And I was a big reader, like one Weekend Wanderer, and Tarzan of the Apes spoke to me. Edgar Rice Burroughs, he painted pictures, and I was Tarzan. I was out in the swamp, honest to God, wearing a loincloth, carrying a knife and a bow and arrow, and I couldn't swing through the trees the way Tarzan did. So what I did is there was one section of skinny oaks, and I would climb one until it started bending over, and I would hang on until it bent over and hit another one. Then I would grab that one and literally swung through the trees in that way. I was a nut about Tarzan. And of course, once you read Tarzan, you've got to continue Return to Tarzan, Son of Tarzan, da 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 da, and then you branch out into Burroughs' other books, his science fiction. I think next to Tarzan, the series that Burroughs wrote that most influenced me was The Mucker. I think there was 3 Mucker books, and if you haven't read those, I really recommend them. But anyway, Tarzan of the Apes would be the first book that really influenced me as a young boy, and I was lucky that the editions being printed then in the late 70s of the paperback were illustrated by Neal Adams. I remember that. And Neal Adams is an incredible artist. Started out as a comic book artist and did just beautiful Tarzan illustrations. Just Google Neal Adams Tarzan, and you'll just see the most beautiful illustrations of the Tarzan book covers. So Tarzan of the Apes, this was my jungle, and it really influenced me. Next, I discovered My Side of the Mountain, and that's by, I don't remember who it's by. It's a female author, I can't remember her name, but about a boy up in New York who runs away from home, doesn't want to live in the city, and lives in a hollow tree in the Catskill Mountains. And that really was a great book and influenced me. And then my third isn't really a book at all, but poetry by Jack London and Robert Service. And pretty much everybody knows Jack London, Call of the Wild and all that kind of stuff. His poetry, hold on, not poetry, his short stories really were something. The one that stands out in my mind is To Build a Fire. If you've never read To Build a Fire by Jack London, read it. Read it one night when there's nobody bothering you. Just, a good gin and tonic and a comfortable chair, and read To Build a Fire. And then Robert Service, his poetry, it was just incredible. His poetry is about being a man and being out in the Klondike and he's a lot like Kipling. He's the American Kipling. not near as famous. But if I had to pick three, those would be the three. Tarzan of the Apes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. My Side of the Mountain. I apologize for not knowing the author's name. Like I said, I ran out here and make this video because his video and his idea for a contest just inspired me. And then of course the poetry of Robert Service and the books and short stories of Jack London. And they made me love the outdoors and love to be alone and love to pit myself against whatever might come my way, and just really led me to seek some adventure in the Marine Corps and travel in the world, and caused me to want to volunteer for all kinds of schools and duties, and just really I haven't regretted it ever. But this was my swamp that I played in, and this was my bayou that was my Tarzan jungle, and those were the books that influenced me. Thanks for the contest. It was fun just thinking about it and talking about it.